Hi there, I'm Victoria Williams and you're watching a video on key signatures for Grade 5 Music Theory students. In the Grade 5 Theory exam, you'll need to be able to recognise key signatures with up to 6 sharps or flats in any of the clefs. That means treble clef, bass clef, alto clef and tenor clef. You need to know about relative majors and minors. For example, C major is relative to A minor. And you'll also need to be able to work out what key a piece of music is in, both in the score question and in the composition question. To do this, we're going to start by making key tables. These tables will contain all the information we need to be able to work out key signatures and relative minors and majors. We start by drawing a grid which has 7 columns and 3 rows. The top row will be our major keys and the bottom row will be the minor keys. In the middle, we'll have numbers telling us how many sharps or flats there are in each of those keys. Hopefully you know that the key of C major and A minor have 0 sharps and 0 flats, so we can fill in C, A and 0 in the middle. We're going to need 2 of these tables. One table will be for sharp keys and the other one will be for flat keys. Let's do the sharp keys table first. We need to know the keys with up to 6 sharps, so we write in the numbers from 1 to 6. Now, the word sharp has 5 letters in it, S-H-A-R-P. 5 is the number that we need to count up to fill in the rest of the boxes on both the top and the bottom rows, like this. Starting from C, count up 5 letter names, C, D, E, F, G. So the letter in the next box after C is G. Now we do the same thing, but this time counting up from G. G, A, B, C, D. So the letter in the next box after the G is D. Keep on going in exactly the same way until you get to the last box. You'll find that the last box is F. Hopefully you already know that the key of F major is not a sharp key. F major's got 1 flat in it. We need to change this F to F sharp. Now that we've filled out the major keys in the top row, we can start on the minor keys in the bottom row. To do the first few, we can just copy the letters from A to F sharp into the boxes on the bottom row. After that, we go back to the beginning of the row to C, G and D and copy those letters into the end of the minor row. Finally, we need to add a sharp sign to the C, G and D to make them into C sharp, G sharp and D sharp minor. And here's how you can use these tables. Let's say you'd forgotten how many sharps there are in E major. Find E in the major row, look for the number and you'll find that E major has 4 sharps. Or let's say you needed to know what the key signature for the minor scale with 5 sharps is. You can see that with 5 sharps, it's G sharp minor. Or perhaps you need to know what the relative major key is for E minor. The boxes will tell you that it's G major. Now let's make our table for the flat keys. We'll start it in exactly the same way, with C and A and 0 accidentals. Fill in the numbers up to 6. And now the word flat has 4 letters in it, F-L-A-T. That's handy because this time we're going to count up 4 notes from C. So the box after C is going to contain the letter F. Count up 4 letters from F, F, G, A, B. But it needs to be B flat, as you know, it's a flat table. If you look back at your sharps table, you'll find that the key of B major is already there. If B major is a sharp key, then it can't be a flat key as well. In fact, all of the letters from here on need to have flats added to them. Now for the minor keys, again we count up 4 from A, B, C, D. Fill in the boxes in the same way until you get to C, which was the first one of the top row. Then just copy everything that follows the C, so the next 3 boxes will contain F, B flat and E flat. And of course you can use your flat table in exactly the same way as the sharp table to find out how many flats there are in a key or what the relative major or minors are. You can also use your key tables to remind yourself of the order of the sharps and flats used in a key signature. If you look at the order of sharps, we begin with F sharp, then C, G, D, A and E sharp. This is the same order of the letters that are used in the sharp box. And the same goes for the flats. The flat box tells you the order of flats in key signatures. However, it's not only the order of sharps and flats in a key signature which you need to know. You also need to know their positions on the stave. Is it a high one or is it a low one? For example, the sharp key signatures usually start high up on the stave in the highest F sharp position that there is. This means the C sharp has to be below the F sharp. It's a lower one on the stave. G sharp is higher again. And both D sharp and A sharp are lower. And finally, E sharp is higher again. It's a good idea to try and learn the sharps as a pattern. You can see that there are 3 diagonals with 2, 3, and then 1 sharp going down diagonally. You get exactly the same pattern in the bass clef and also in the alto clef, but watch out because the tenor clef is an exception. Unlike all the other sharp keys, in the tenor clef the first F sharp is the lowest possible one on the stave, and then the pattern of sharps is pairs that are rising, 3 diagonal rising pairs. And as luck would have it, exactly the same pattern is used for the flats in all of the clefs. Treble clef, bass clef, alto and tenor clef all use 3 diagonal rising pairs. So really, you only need to learn 2 patterns in order to know all of the patterns of flats and sharps in 4 different clefs. Finally, let's look at how we work out the key of a piece of music. The key of a piece of music is fixed by a harmony based on chords 1 and chords 5. That means that the melody notes need to fit with those 2 chords. Not all of the notes in the melody will be ones that we need to look at. It's the notes that are on the strong beats of the bar which are more important. For example, in 4/4, you've got 4 main beats in the bar, so these are important, but also the first beat of the bar is always the strongest, and the third beat of the bar in 4/4 is stronger than beats 2 and 4. Here's an example. In this 4/4 bar, the notes which fall on the first and third beats are in boxes. These 2 notes are the most important notes in this bar. So we're looking at G sharp and B. Look at the key signature. There are 4 sharps. Use your key tables to work out that this could be either E major or C sharp minor. So we need to work out whether those 2 boxed notes, G sharp and B, are part of the key of E major or C sharp minor. Write out the notes of those chords, chords 1 and 5 in E major and chords 1 and 5 in C sharp minor. You can see here that the note B natural only occurs in E major. It doesn't occur in these 2 chords in C sharp minor. Therefore, the key of this piece is E major. Let's take a look at another one. This piece is very similar. In fact, the only difference is that the note which lands on the third beat of the bar is C sharp instead of B. Look back at the notes of the chords 1 and 5 in the 2 keys that we wrote out. The note C sharp only occurs in the key of C sharp minor. Remember, we're looking specifically for the notes which are in chords 1 and 5 in these keys. So by changing just one note of the melody, this piece is in C sharp minor. Here's a summary of what we've learnt in this video. You need to learn how to write out the sharp flat key tables. They'll help you in the exam in lots of different questions, not only for key signatures, but for things like scales as well. You can use them to work out the order of sharps and flats in a key signature, but you do need to learn the position of the sharps and flats on the stave. Finally, chords 5 and 1 are the most important chords for fixing a key. So if you need to work out what key a piece is in, you need to be looking for the notes which fit with those 2 chords.